Welcome to the podcast, Badass Mother Hustler, where the grit, stress, and the beauty of motherhood and entrepreneurship meet. We'll share the realities and stories of what it takes to make it all work and still be a badass mother. Now here's your host, Maddie Yaka.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode. Today, I am chatting with my good friend and badass mother, Anne Truszcienski. She's a mom to two and a stay-at-home Gigi, and she is a health and wellness coach who also helps people grow their businesses online through social media management. But that's not where she started. She has one heck of a story, and I can't wait to talk about it. How are you?
Oh my goodness, so good to see you. Even if it's through video, I miss our chats in person. So first of all, thank you for having me here. Like, it was a huge honor. I'm like, who, me? That's awesome. And I love watching you grow too. I think what you're doing is amazing. Just incredible.
Well, thanks. I'm just, everyone has an interesting story. I have a story. You have a story. Being an entrepreneur mom is just something that not everyone is. And we all need a support group, I found. And that's why I'm doing it.
Love it. It's so true.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, what you like to do, what your hobbies are.
Oh my goodness. What I like to do, well, first of all, I live in Bethany Beach, Delaware. I just looked outside. It's so nice out. Minus
jealous. It's raining here.
Really? Aw. Well, anything outdoors, but seriously, anywhere I can stick my toes in the grass and the sand. I love the beach life here. I moved here. It'll be 2 years next month. Wowza. Yeah. So when I'm not doing that, I'm volunteering. I'm doing some kind of volunteer work. I am actually working. This is a good plug. So it's called Rally. Seriously, it's called Rally for Our First Responders. It's a yearly event at the Hudson Fields here in Delaware, where we raise money for the first responders, firefighters, police officers. So I'm working with that. That's what I like doing. I mean, that's my extra time.
Yeah, I mean, I like to volunteer too. I'm part of the Unionville Community Fair. This is my second year. You just do stuff that's near and dear to your heart, you know?
Exactly. I see you selling your tickets, girl. I like it.
Cow pie bingo. We're redneck.
I'm like, I want to be up there. So I'm like, I want to play.
So much fun. So tell everyone how you got to the point where you are a health and wellness coach and you are a stay-at-home Gigi.
Oh gosh. Okay. So first and foremost, this totally came by accident. It was not something I had on my goal board. Like, oh, this is what I want to be when I grow up. So let's go back to 2011, 12. 2000, let's say 2012. So I was laid off. I got laid off from my job. I was managing a hospice organization in Wilmington, Delaware. It was like my final, I found my home, so I had, the door with the office with the door, the wraparound desk. And for me, it felt like family. A friend of mine helped me network into that position. So I was like, this is phenomenal.
You're like, I'm going to retire at this job.
Not.
Yeah.
That was May 2011 when I got hired into that position. I was very, very happy. The money was just okay, but my peace of mind and my environment was basically where I wanted to be. Fast forward. October 11th, 2011, I got word that they were closing the doors and chopping all of the management out of the way. We had a takeover from another hospice company, and I wasn't invited to go. So I'm like, oh, this is horrible. So I didn't know what I was going to do. I mean, I was making pretty decent pay. My husband at the time was making okay pay. So I was pretty much carrying the weight for the most part. It was more my half than his half supporting us. So I was really scared. At the same time, my brother got diagnosed with a brain tumor. And so everything happens for a reason. I'll get to the point, but because it's all going to wrap around in my story. So he was only 30 at the time.
Wow.
I know, super young. And he was fit. He was in shape. He did physical therapy. Like, he worked with physical therapy in Wilmington. He was awesome. So he got sick, which afforded me the ability to spend time with him. So that was October, November, December, January. He passed away in 2012. So like, sometimes when doors close, they're not closing because they don't want you, like the divine one doesn't want you to walk through them. They're closing so they can redirect you into the path that you're meant to be.
Yeah, you then got to spend all that time with him before he passed away.
Don't make me cry, Maddie.
Yeah, it's too early for that.
I know, right? So then during that time, I gained about 40 or 50 pounds, and I call it happy weight because one of his cravings was cake. So I would walk in and he would say, "Where's my cake?" And I'm like, holy crap, you want another one? So I would go home and make another one. It was probably the craziest and best memories. So I gained a bunch of weight. So I found myself working out in the gym. I was like, I don't even have any clothes left. Like, even my sweatpants, were getting too small. So like, I went back to the gym because that was one of the things that brought me closer to him in his memory, because he always worked out. So I was at the gym and someone invited me to this nutrition club smoothie shop. And this guy was running up to me, he had tattoos all over his neck. And I'm thinking, what does he want? He's like, hey, what are you doing after you work out? And I'm like, I didn't know if he was hitting on me. Of course, it was all about me. But he was marketing his business. So I went and checked it out. During this time, I probably didn't clean my house 3 or 4 months. True story, because I was just in a deep depression. So I went home and I got all happy, energized from his energy, from the free, they gave us energy, natural energy drink. And I went home and I cleaned my entire house. I'm like, whatever that stuff was, I want more. So then I got tied into the community, and I was invited to workouts. I was going there all the time for the drinks. And then I decided to promote it as well, and I did that by accident. I actually started my own little walking club that turned into a run club in my neighborhood.
That's
and then
awesome.
I'm getting super fit. I dropped all this weight. I got back down to my size 4 months later. I'm super excited. And then one thing stuck with me. This woman was super happy. During that time, I took another job, and I had 2 jobs. So one, I went back to doing phlebotomy that I haven't done in 15 years. Because it was a paycheck.
Yeah.
And then I was doing medical exams for a life insurance company. You know how they come out to your house for life insurance?
I remember them doing that with my parents a long time ago. Mm-hmm. I haven't had that done yet.
I don't know if they still do that stuff.
I don't know.
This was a long time ago. So I was contracted out. So I would go to people's houses. I would draw their blood, collect their urines, do their medical exams, EKGs, and then spin the blood at home, mail it off, and then do the other job at the same time. So I was going crazy.
You're a hustler.
Right? Well, someone had to pay the bills, girl.
Yeah.
So I'm and seriously, and then I was inviting people to the smoothie shop, the nutrition club, so they can try it, so I could sell it, because I was trying to get my side hustle there. So I would spin the blood. I shouldn't even be saying this on there, but I'm going to tell you, I had a little centrifuge, and I was spinning blood in the back. My girlfriend, who was my mentor at the time, Brenda, she would mail it off to me, drop it off at FedEx, and mail the blood. And then I was doing it, selling products over here, supplements. It was insane. So that's how I got started on that aspect. But I knew that everyone was happy, and I wasn't happy. And I was starting getting mad at them, must be nice. And then someone said, "You're not a tree. You can leave your job anytime you want to. You can do whatever you want. All you have to do is just say yes." And I'm like, Like I didn't have any self-confidence whatsoever in that department. So at the time, my husband was living in DC. He got a job with, I'll just tell you, a government agency. So he was living in Ellicott City, right outside DC, and traveling all over the US. And that job paid a lot better than the other one, so I was grateful. However, he was gone for like 9 months. During that 9 months, I was able to replace both my 2 jobs income with the side hustle at selling the supplements and coaching. And basically I learned how to all about nutrition. We went to trainings about, how to work out, all those things, and building relationships. Well, the cool thing is that the medical exam job brought me all my clients into the other place. And it was unintentional because one of the things that you do with life insurance exams is, what do? You ask them how much they weigh, right? So I'm like, well, I can help with that.
Yeah.
So that helped that business. So I was able to replace both those incomes. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to do any of those jobs anymore. My husband at the time didn't know anything about it.
Well, he's been gone for 9 months.
Well, we're divorced for a reason. We didn't talk much.
Yeah.
So he didn't know anything that was going on. So a friend of mine, which was a client also, Christy, who's also the niece of Lee Murphy. He's a politics, and he was running for senator or whatever in Delaware here. So she comes to me and she's like, there's a location that you would be perfect. Like it would be perfect for you. It's in Wilmington. And I was like, location for what? Like this, I was like, there's no way I'm doing this. So she's like, just come take a look, talk to Sylvia. I'm like, who's Sylvia? She's like, he runs the pizza shop. Like, this is so casual, right? He owns the location. So that was in March. So yeah, so it's not many, like 5 months later. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go in and I want to get to a training. I want to learn how to do this. So I went to my boss, the place I was working at, and I asked her for some time off so I can go into the training. And she said no.
Wow.
And I was like, yeah, I'm not doing this anymore. So
were you out of vacation days or something?
I think I just started. Like it was,
yeah.
I think it was like one of those things. And I was considered a floater. So I didn't have a set schedule. So I didn't think it would be a problem. But I think too many people were off that day. And I'm the woman who covered the vacations. So she said no, whether it wasn't intentional, I'm sure, like targeted toward me, but it gave me the fuel. Mm-hmm. So I went back in the next day and gave her my 2-week notice. And she's like, well, what are you going to do? I'm like, I'm going to open up a location. And she's like, she chuckled. I don't think she believed me. So I was like, well, let's see. And I really didn't believe it myself, but I spoke it into existence, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Manifesting positive energy.
Did you read that book yet? We'll talk about that later. So I said, all right, well, let's do it. So I called Kirsty up and I said, all right, let's go meet Silvio. I walked in. He's like, Bella. It was so amazing. It felt already like I was meant to be. I walked in there. I looked at the place and I couldn't imagine. I don't know about you, but I don't have that vision of how to turn a dentist office into like a smoothie shop.
When we were house hunting before I was a realtor and we looked at a whole lot of houses that were old and empty, I couldn't imagine. But now that I'm in houses all the time, like I've learned to be more open-minded or artsy, I guess. And I can envision now.
It's hard at first, I'm sure.
Yes. Yes.
All I kept seeing is dollar signs. I had no idea where the money was going to come from. Like, well, I know a contract. I know a plumber. So let's get this going. At this time I was making enough to like quit the other job as well, but I didn't want to let that go yet. But someone gave me advice, if you're going to be all in, be all in. So just do it.
Just do it. Yep. That's like everyone that I've spoken with, they are nervous. And then there gets to be a point a breaking point where they're just like, I'm done. I'm doing it. I'm doing what I want to do.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then, yeah, I got to talk about that later. So that was March. In May, I signed the lease because we were going back and forth. Like, he wanted all this rent. And I'm like, oh, like, if it doesn't work out the way it's supposed to, or the way I need it to, I'm not going to do it. Because I didn't want to bite off more than I could chew and set myself up for failure.
Yeah.
We opened in August 21st, 2012. See how fast that went?
Like 12 years later.
No, I'm saying like January to August. Like, anyway. So we opened up, and I'm telling you, I did so much foot marketing. It was ridiculous. I think this one lady nicknamed me the Haunt, and I didn't even know what that. I don't even know what that means, but I think I was just annoying to her. She's older, but I heard that later on. But I'm like, good. If someone's criticizing you, you're doing something right.
That is
if
true.
You're annoying, you're doing something right, because people that are like go-getters, positive people, they're never going to criticize anyone that's going to get their hustle on. Never. So we opened the doors. The first day it was flooded with people. Like, it was out the wazoo. And I'm like, how am I going to handle this? Like, this is crazy. But I skipped a part. My ex-husband at the time, came home from his little, work assignment. And that's when I let him in on, hey, I quit my job. Like, he had no idea what was going on. So he was like, okay, if that's what you want. So you don't need to get permission from your spouse. Well, I didn't. So we opened the doors. And then 3 years later, before I even go there, let's just say that I think Facebook was getting popular at that time.
Yeah.
So I had to really
2012. Yeah.
I feel old. Anyway, so I had to get savvy at that. But, a lot of the younger kids that were coming in, we had 5 of the major schools coming in. So that really paid the bills. We did free workouts. We had 50 to 70 people at our workouts, some of the biggest ones. And we held it right outside our space when the weather was, good. And then in the colder months, we went into rented a community center, a church. We did whatever it took to get
that way. People are seeing what you're doing and they're like, oh, what's going on? Oh, give me more information. But you've taken this side hustle that was not brick and mortar, and then you went and turned it into something that was brick and mortar, and it just exploded.
But wait, there's more. So we weren't getting along. And I wanted a way out. He wanted a way out. Watch this manifestation again. The landlord decided he didn't want to renew our lease. So it was no fault of our own. It's just that he had competition down the road, and we were above his pizza business. If he was to kick us out, he could expand his seating upstairs. So there I find myself again. I'm like, well, I got to find another location. So then I opened another location on my own, without my husband, in Newark by the University of Delaware. And that place was popping too. It was fabulous. During that time, I took in my 3-week-old at the time grandson.
3 weeks old.
3
wow.
weeks old. Hold on. Wait, there's more. And I needed a back fusion. So this is crazy, right? And I'm like, how am I going to handle this? And we're like, one day at a time. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So needless to say, I was there for a couple of years. I'm going to kind of fast forward this a little bit. I was able to build relationships, really get the brand out there from Wilmington. The cool thing is that a lot of the kids from Wilmington that were coming into the location actually that were high school, that were actually now University of Delaware students. So they followed me in. So I had an instant business still. And it was wonderful. However, Silas got diagnosed with autism, and we had many issues with daycare providers because of his challenges and not.
How old was he at this point?
Well, when it first started, when I first realized that he was, excuse me, had challenges, is when he was about 18 months old.
Okay. And you are fully in charge of him from the time he's 3 weeks old? Okay.
1,000%. Just me, myself, and I,
Yep.
and my friend Becky, and my friend Brenda and her husband, and you get and my sister-in-law. It was anyone, and I would post on Facebook, need a babysitter for Saturday from 10 to 2. And we just, by all means, just had to make it work. One of the biggest challenges I had at the time was being able to find consistent daycare for him, and then balancing the social media, that, I wasn't doing workouts anymore because I had a bad back, and then taking care of him. It was just way too much. So I had to reinvent myself. So, I mean, that's another thing. If you find roadblocks, it's not give up. It's find another way of doing what you love doing.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, they're not roadblocks, they're hurdles. And what does a sprinter do? They jump a hurdle. And like you said, you find another way to get over it.
yeah, that's why I love you. You're awesome. I love those little things. So I closed the door. I closed the door on that one. I was like, I'm going to reinvent myself or jump over that hurdle. By this time, I had social media. Like, I was pretty savvy at it. And a lot of the times, like, I couldn't do the things I was doing before because I was doing so much over here. So I was doing a lot of online challenges, because one of the things that I do is online 21-day challenges where we transform our before and after photo with meal plans, coaching. And I love to see people that, when, especially females, when we're able, I see your cold plunging too. When you're able to eat healthier, we think better, right? It's what we feed our body. It just changes everything.
100%.
Yep. And one of my jobs was hand holding, coaching, and being your friend during the process. So it's not like a 21-day fix where I'm just going to get, well, some people are like that. I want to get into that dress for the wedding, but it was about creating long-term, lifelong habits that stick and stay. So a lot of that was transpiring after hours, where I closed my location anyway.
So you've got like a whole lot on your plate. You had the second brick and mortar place. You have full custody of your grandson. You are doing social media on the side. You're doing the challenges. I don't know how you juggled it all, but I guess your first step was to close the brick and mortar, take something off your plate, and you knew you could really hit the social media and get it to explode.
My business exploded, Maddie. It really did. I think I did record. I was producing way more than ever. And I think it had a lot to do with being happier, being able to, I don't like being rushed. I don't know about you, but I don't like, I like things to have harmony in your day. And I'm going to get into that later too. So, but this is how crazy I am, because I'm usually an all in or nothing kind of gal. And I'm an extremist, which I'm recovering from now. I opened another location.
Oh my goodness. You said I don't have enough on my plate, so here comes another one.
Well, I didn't do it on purpose. What happened was, what transpired, I was helping someone else, because during this time, I'm also helping other people open their locations and mentoring their businesses, doing the same thing I was doing. And I was getting royalties, and I still am getting royalties from that. So I was helping someone else look for a location, and someone said, how about Kennett? So here I go. I'm like with them, taking a look. My business mentor and I were talking about it. And then she bailed for whatever reasons at the not last minute, but her perfect timing to bail. I don't like thinking it's going to happen. I'm going to help her, because that's one of my biggest things, helping people like open their doors. And so I was there for, what was it, Maddie, a year? Yeah, I think it was a year.
I mean, that's how we met each other, is you opened your Kennett Square location.
I love that place. That's still my baby. It still is.
I'm drinking my tea right now.
I can't live without it. So a year later, due to the imbalance of life again, I thought I had it set up. It just didn't happen that way. And I won't get into all that because it's really boring. But I decided to, Lisa and Frank, aren't they amazing?
Yes.
Okay. So during that time, Lisa and Frank was very in love with Cloud9 as well. They helped paint it. They helped put it together. And I'm like, you know what? This belongs to them. And so they took ownership. I moved down to the beach. Silas got into a wonderful autism program down here. And it's the best in the state. And I had no clue about it. Like, no clue about it. So since then, I've been down here almost 2 years. I'm helping other businesses, like basically manage their social media. I'm managing my my now boyfriend and his social media and his business and networking. So I hope that explains all of it and how I got started. And that's where I am today. And I'm writing a book.
That's amazing. I didn't know that you were writing a book. Did you get a publisher? Or are you just going to self-write and publish on Amazon?
I haven't decided that yet. I started telling my story because so many people kept saying you need to write a book, especially my therapist. So that's another tip. Get a therapist during all this if you're an entrepreneur, or a really good mentor that is really good at therapy.
That's what someone else said.
Really?
Yeah.
Excuse me. It's funny because it's true. Don't trust your own thinking. Like, you really.
So your business now gives you the flexibility even more to help out and take care of Silas whenever he might need you to like run to school, or like you're going to be there when he gets off the bus because, school hours aren't 9 to 5.
Family first.
Yep.
And I did say in one of my videos, family always comes first. And I can't tell you how many times that I've been denied vacation requests, time off to go field trips. When my daughter was 15, I missed a lot of time because of just not having the ability to be in control of my own life. And I think that's the moral of the story for every entrepreneur. The very first year of opening my first location, I didn't visit in inside of a grocery store. That's how gung-ho I was. And so that's a lesson learned. Like, I had things delivered to me, but now I'm doing things like I've taken him to Disney several times. I'm able to attend his therapy appointments. I can work from anywhere, literally anywhere. If you follow me on social media, you'll see me on the beach, saying my office for the day, and that's priceless.
I think that so many people end up choosing entrepreneurship as their path because family comes first. Like, that's why I left teaching, because I wanted to spend all the time I could with my daughter at that time. I didn't want her in daycare all day.
Yeah. If you do the math, the number of hours that your child's in daycare, and I hope this doesn't offend anyone, but for me personally, it's 8 to 10 hours a day. And there's only 12 awake hours, so to speak. You're spending 2 times 5, 10 hours a week with your child. I couldn't.
That is literally the math I did when my daughter was 3 weeks old and I was holding her on the couch, and I was like, okay, so I'm going to pick her up and she'll be with me for 2 hours before she goes to bed. So Monday through Friday, I get to spend 10 hours with her. Not happening.
My favorite phrase now, not okay. Not okay.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So, balancing motherhood and Gigi-hood and being an entrepreneur is not always smooth sailing. What do you think is stressful about managing both roles?
Oh, so I thought about this. I've learned a really hard lesson. The part that I left out is that I completely crashed and burned, and I've learned some very, very valuable lessons. Number one, you have to have framework. Like, you have to have framework. A lot of the times being an entrepreneur, you're not disciplined because, even growing up, you're always told what to do. When you're in a job, you're told what to do. And now that you're your own boss, you literally have to put the hat on and be that person during that time. And I figured out that there's no such thing as multitasking. There's no such thing. It's one thing at a time. So one of the hurdles that I found is that I had this adopted thinking that to squeeze things into the nook and crannies, and it doesn't work. It didn't work for me.
I feel like that's where people end up hitting the burnout, because they're not taking the nooks and crannies for themselves to take a breather. They're squeezing in other business activities. And then when are you supposed to take a breather?
Right, exactly. Or having your phone multitasking when he's trying to get your attention. And so that was like my biggest hurdle. And then feeling guilty about it, completely guilty. So time management is huge, and booking, like, sit down and have a discussion with your family. Okay. So, like, I'm going to be working from this time to this time. And then, but first, Sunday nights, like, ideally sit down and put in your family schedule first. The appointments, the field trips, or whatever it may be, that comes first. And then your time is wrapped around. So and your personal time. So one of the mistakes I made, the biggest thing is when, let's just say I made a promise to do something with the family and a business opportunity would come up, I would take the business opportunity. And as much as it kills me now, I don't do it. I don't say I'm not available. I'm saying I'm already booked.
Yep.
So I got into the habit and saying, I already have an appointment that day. They didn't need to know it's my appointment with Silas or my massage. It's already booked. So, I mean, that's one of the biggest challenges that I was able to overcome, is saying no.
So that's what I read in a lot of like realtor Facebook groups. New realtors are always saying like, oh, I'm trying to hustle and cover, like, do as many showings as I can when people ask. But they're like, but then my family time gets pushed to the side. What do you suggest? And all these veteran agents are like, if someone wants to go see a house at 3:00 and you have something with your family, you don't say I'm doing family stuff, because some people don't understand that. You just say, I already have an appointment at that time, and then provide them with a new time that might work.
And I have a saying too, any action or inaction that's fueled by fear of loss, of losing the sale, or fear of success, any action or inaction taken by that driving force, you're going to lose every single time. I promise people too, I was like, if you have your nucleus and your house in order, you're going to attract what's meant to be for you, period.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, is that from the book that you read or you mentioned previously?
Yeah. The one I told you about in conversation. Yes.
I don't remember that one.
We talked about books all the time. So
I know, I love to read. I have so many on my to be read list. Dakota actually is using the books as like menus now in her fake kitchen. She'll take them off the shelf and she's like, here, what would you like, a cheeseburger? And it's like Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I'm like, yeah, I'll have a cheeseburger from
that's
that
a great
menu.
book.
It is a good book. Yeah. All right. So as entrepreneur moms, we experience motherhood differently than stay-at-home or 9-to-5 moms. What do you think is the beauty of being an entrepreneur mom / Gigi?
I lay my head down every night in good conscience. And I think that I think one of the biggest things is that especially for people that have little girls. I mean, you're setting an example that you can do whatever you want to do. We're leading by example. And, I mean, not to put anyone down that has a 9 to 5, but if you're looking at the bigger picture, like you're teaching your little ones and getting them involved and making little entrepreneurs out of them. Because I'm already teaching Silas that, even my own kids, don't get busy working, don't spend your time helping someone else build their dream, build your own.
Yep. So it's funny you said we're making little entrepreneurs. We just went to Oxford Produce auction in Oxford down Route 1 yesterday and bought a whole bunch of stuff wholesale because Andrew is building Dakota a little produce stand to sell things at the end of our driveway. So she's been out there the past 3 days being like, finish this up. She's 5. She's like, I want to get this stuff sold and sell lemonade. I can't wait to see how it goes. She's so excited.
That's how it all starts. Like my mother told me years ago, I was like 3 and I would color pictures in a coloring book and sell them for 2 cents. So
that is so cute. And then from there, it just tumbles right into, all right, you made this money, but you're not going to go spend it all. You teach them about investing and how they're going to keep some, and then how to get the money to make more money from itself.
10% saved, 10% invest. Yeah. That's another good book, but David Ramsey.
Yes. Yep. All right. Well, we are nearing the end. So we're going to switch to our rapid fire 5 and 5. What does your ideal chill day look like? I think I know if I had to take a guess, but.
All right, go ahead.
A beach day.
Of course. Or fly. But here's the thing. You can only do it so many weeks, but beach, book, or no book, and just listening to the waves. And if it's rainy or cloudy, don't laugh. But literally, I like to stay in bed and just like veg out completely. It could be Netflix series. It could be something that I don't have to think too hard.
It's a recharge. You're recharging your battery.
I never used to do that. Yeah, so
it's important to do it so you don't end up burnt out.
It's the silence between the notes that creates the music, right?
Oh, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
What are you currently reading or listening to?
Reading. So The One Thing.
Yep.
Have you read it?
Oh yeah, like 2
years ago. Yeah, Gary Keller. And the hardest part, it's an easy read, but the hardest part is basically trying to figure out what that one thing is. Have you figured out that one thing?
Family.
Yeah. Good stuff.
What's your favorite app or tool you use as an entrepreneur, a mom, or both?
Okay. There is the app for moms called Funful, Funful. It's basically an app to like give you discounts for our local events for kids. So you can get like really cheap, I'm talking cheap activities.
That's awesome. I've never heard of that. I'm going to look it up as soon as we're done.
You should, girl. As far as for me, I mean, I do a lot of social media. So I do like CapCut, in stories. If you ever seen any of my videos, it's all, I love CapCut, or even learning anything any apps that have creativity to it. That's my jam.
Yeah, I love social media too. April laughs. She doesn't touch it really for our business. And I'm like, oh, I can't wait. Like I'm the one in charge of it. So yeah, Canva, CapCut, all that good stuff.
Yeah, I like Canva too, but CapCut.
Yeah. So what's the song you blast the shit out of if entrepreneur mom life is too much for you that day?
Oh, goodness. Champion by Carrie Underwood.
Ooh, I love that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And is it Ludacris that's in there too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you see the TikTok video with a grandmom that was in love with Ludacris and she came and visited her? Yeah.
No, you'll have to send it to me.
Okay.
And what's some advice that you can give a struggling entrepreneur mom?
Oh gosh, besides don't quit, find yourself a group of other women. Talk to them regularly who are entrepreneurs as well. Get yourself a mentor. Listen to personal development every single day like it's a shower. It's recommended to do it daily because you can self-doubt yourself so much, especially maybe when your kid's telling you they hate you, or, just it seems like everything's going wrong. Those things are like non-negotiables.
Yeah, that's really good advice. So if listeners wanted to reach out to you and they had questions, what is the best way for them to get in touch with you?
So Coach Annie with 3es.com. And that's a quick way to reach out.
So it is ANNEEE.
Correct.
Yes, because some people spell Annie with an I.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. And are you on social media at all for people to reach out?
I am on TikTok at 24/7 Anne Marie, and then my full long name down below on Facebook, and Instagram is Coach Annie with the 3Es, no I.
Yep. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate you taking the time.
I was really honored to be here today for allowing me to share my journey. And Maddie, it was really good seeing you too.
It was really good to see you. So I'm going to leave everyone with a quote like I normally do. She didn't wait for a seat at the table. She built her own, and it was a masterpiece. Everyone, until next week, have a wonderful day.
Thank you for joining this episode of Badass Mother Hustler. If you loved this episode as much as we did, and it left you feeling inspired and empowered, give us a quick like and subscribe, and we'll invite you back to our next episode. And be sure to share us on your socials and visit our Instagram, Badass Mother Hustler Podcast. We'll see you next time.